Hello, and welcome to another episode of Forging with Attilius. Today we are going to start working on drawing these swords out to length. Before we do any grinder work or anything like that, I would like to get them to the 30.5 inches, I believe. I'll have to double check on the paperwork, but how we're going to do that is we're just going to start, instead of working the outside silhouette of the blade like we had before in the previous episode, we're going to start working this way. And to get the distal taper to naturally form into the blade, we'll start about here and start working the tip first and get it a little thinner and get it starting to work in, and then we'll start working the entire length of the blade, so it naturally starts thick near the shoulders here and naturally comes down to a finer point. And then once we get that done, if we have time today, we will actually start to do the Ulfberht lettering and inlays, and then hopefully maybe the next video we'll start to do the forge welding part of that. I got the forge fired up right now. That's what you hear in the background. And once it gets up to temperature, we'll throw these in and get to forging. So we have the flat dies on there right now. We're actually going to turn them to the rounding dies. My press isn't quite strong enough to work it as fast as I would like it to. The material, flat. I would prefer to do everything flat and not do the rounding dies because you have a really strong chance of working it too thin in littler spots. And the flat die is a greater surface area, but it's flat. So you can kind of see here what we're working with. This obviously has a smaller surface area, so it draws the metal a little faster. Or this is so flat, it's harder to, it takes a lot longer for it to work the surface area of the flat side of the blade. So that's why we're switching to the rounding dies, to try to work them in. So like I said before, we're going to be working the silhouette of the blade, or the distal tapering of the blade. We're working the tip first, from the middle to the tip. We're going to work one side at a time. And as we work this, you're going to notice that it's going to start pulling to one side over the other side, which is why it's vital to flip it over and work the other side, because it makes the material go back straight. Back into the forge. Grab the other one. Same thing. Middle of the blade. We're not doing too hard of presses. Just quick, light. Get the material moving. A couple more passes at this. Now the metal looks colder than it really is because of all the light in my forge. The blacksmiths in history would actually face all their windows and doors facing to the north to try to prevent this from happening. So though it does look like I'm working the steel cold, and maybe I am a little bit, it's not as cold as you would think. You can kind of see where it's tapering that way. We're going to flip it over. And it should start to straighten it back out. I may have to do it on the next heat though. Yep, we'll get that straightened out on the next one. So you can see that crook going that way. We're going to try to straighten that out with this heat. So I tried to get that to straighten out some. Didn't want to straighten out the way that I wanted to. So we just heated it back up, coming back over here to the anvil, and then just some light tappy tappies to get everything back center. Tip is a little wanky. Good there. Good there. Keeping everything as straight and even as possible, which we're pretty good there. Same with this old beastie. This one's a little better than the other one. The tip kind of got pushed off a little bit, which is fine. We can fix that right up. Perfect. Try to get rid of that shoulder. Soften that edge a little bit, but it's not wanting to. Here we go. Now we'll just start working the rest of the blade down. All right. So we've been working it for quite a while now. We are roughly at 28.5 inches. We got to get to 30.5, so we got quite a bit of distance to go still, and then we'll get there. This sword that I'm about to pull out got a little wonky on the last heat. Not to worry, we're still in the rough forging phases. Just gonna grab it. As you can see there, super brown. So we're just gonna take it, hold it up on the anvil. Bring it back straight. All right, we're just about done here. I saved you all that freaking, just the same thing over and over again. The monotony of drawing these swords out. So we are at right about 30¼ inches. So we got just a little bit more straightening out to do. One quick measure. Oh, we are right at 30½. Just need to fix a couple little jankies in there, and we will be good to go on that one. Let's check this one. A couple little jankies on this one too. Whoop. Up here. Fixing a little high spot. Good, good, good. Perfect. Back in the forge, and then we will switch over to the flatter dies. Try to get a bunch of those little whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoops out from the rounding dies. Ooh. Always be cautious whenever you're messing with your dies, because they are hot, hot, hot. So now that we are to length, we don't necessarily need to go much thinner, but we need to straighten a couple of things out. Kind of fix the silhouette up a little bit more, and then also, like I said, try to get all those little high spots from the rounding dies out. I'll be completely honest with you, I don't usually get them all out. I usually go to the grinder to get them all the rest of the way out. But going to the flat dies gives us the opportunity to use as much of the material as we can without grinding a lot of it away. Now I know a lot of you are probably wondering, how did the medieval or the early blacksmiths do this kind of stuff? And it was basically, it was a team of blacksmiths. There'd probably be one master smith and 2 or 3 other apprentices, and the master smith would be the one holding the material with the tongs and moving it back and forth across the anvil, while the other blacksmiths were the ones running the bigger hammers, trying to get them to draw that out. Obviously, I'm a one-man band, so I get to use the press. It was a worthy investment. It has saved my body, my arms, my joints, and makes the process a lot faster. So that's the biggest difference between what I'm doing and what the old timers used to do. All right, so now we just got a couple of whoop-de-doops on the silhouette side of the sword that we're trying to straighten out really quick. And all I'm doing is using the anvil as my straightener. Light taps. good there. That is fairly good. We'll straighten the rest out with the old grinder. Done. All right, we are done. As you can see, they both come in just over 35 and 36 inches. The fatter of the two, the one on the right, will actually be the Ulfberht, and the one on the left will actually be a LEUTLRIT. I think that's the proper way to pronounce it. Sword will be based off this guy right here, the River Witham, opposite Monk's Abbey in Lincoln, England. It'll have this inscription, which the T is upside down, the bottom there. And then on the other side, it will have this little S-shaped wrought iron mark, whatever you want to call it. So, that being said, we are going to close up shop today. All I'm going to do now is normalize these blades, which is just heat and cool and heat and cool. It's not very much fun to watch. Once they're done, I will probably continue on the inscription, but I feel like that should probably be in another video because it's going to be a little bit more in depth. But up to this point, we've forged out the tips or cut the tips out, forged them in the rest of the way, forged out the distal or the silhouette of the blade, the overall shape, and then we started to forge in the distal taper. As we continue to work and once we start the grinding work on that, it'll actually, now that the tip is thinner than the shoulder area or the Ricasso, the shoulder is where the sword meets the tang, and it's about a 1/4 inch thick there, and then it comes all the way down. I didn't measure it yet, so I'm not gonna quote it, but as we grind, it'll just continue to thin that line down some. So we've set ourselves up for pretty good success. We're not going to do any grinding until after I get these inscriptions forged welded in. So as I said before, one will probably end up being an Ulfberht, and the other one will be the LEUTLRIT or whatever, LEUTLRIT, because the T is upside down for whatever reason. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them as fast as I can. You can reach me on all my other social media platforms, which will be linked below. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.